Hi boys and girls, today is Monday, June 1st. I can't believe it's June already. This is our writing lesson, and of course I'm Mrs. Crow. If you haven't completed your reading lesson, please stop this video and go back to your reading assignment and do that first. It's really important what Miss Dwyer has to teach you about so that you can use what you know to come and do your writing lesson. So if you haven't done your reading lesson, please stop the video and go do that first. So in Miss Dwyer's video, she introduced something new to you called poems. So we have a poem is one, poems with an S, there's many of them, and poetry is all different types of poems. And the great thing about poetry is that you have to make sure that you have a very good imagination, you're super creative, and you'll love poetry. Now remember, not all poems have to rhyme. Some of them can, some of them don't have to. And the poem that we learned about is our Five Senses poem. And Miss Dwyer did an amazing job showing you a poem that talked about the five senses. Well, do you remember what the five senses are? Can you help me? I'm gonna say and point to something, and I want you to see if you can tell me what sense I'm talking about. So I'm pointing at my eyes. What sense do you think I'm talking about? What do our eyes do? They see. So our sense of sight or seeing. My nose. What does our nose do? It smells. So our sense of smell. Our mouth. What do our mouths do besides talk? Oh, they taste. So our sense of taste. How about these? What do these do? They hear. So our sense of hearing. And one more. We use these. We do it all the time. We feel things. So our sense of touch. We use our fingers. So those are our five senses. And in this poem today, we're going to use our five senses. And I'm going to show you. It's a little bit different than Miss Dwyer's poem, but it's super cool. So of course I have to have my title, which is called Five Senses Poem. Just like a book has a title, our poems have titles. And then of course it says by Mrs. Crow. Does that mean like I'm saying bye? No, that means I wrote this poem. I made it up myself. So I want to make sure, like putting my name on a paper, that everyone knows that it was me that did this. Super important. So here is, the pink is the outline of the poem, and then all I had to do was use my green marker and fill in the spots. So the first thing I had to do is I had to think about something. I had to come up with something. And it could be anything, which is the great thing about poetry and about our Five Senses poem. But what I thought about, the first thing I thought about was popcorn. So I wrote on my first line, my thing, popcorn. So it says popcorn is, and then it asks for a color. And I put yellow. It tastes like butter. It sounds like popping. It smells like the movie theater. It looks like clouds. It feels like crunchy. It makes me feel excited. So we used all our senses, and the sense of feeling, we used the sense of touch, but also how it makes us feel inside. So I picked popcorn. I love popcorn. And I thought of what it looked like, so what color, what it tastes like, butter, what it sounds like, popping, what it smells like, so it reminds me of a movie theater, what it looks like. I think when I look at a piece of popcorn, it looks like a little cloud. It feels crunchy, so that's my touch. And then it also makes me feel excited because I love popcorn. So this is our Five Senses poem. Now, a couple things I want to point out to you about our poem, which is really important. What does each of my sentences start with? They all start with a capital letter. And it just happens that it sounds like my poem almost repeats itself. It all starts with the letter, the word it. And then at the end, what is super important, we have to have our stopping point after each sentence. That's our period. So just keep those in mind. So, super cool. You guys know your 5 senses. I want you to start thinking about something. It could be a food. It could be an animal. It could be anything you want. That's the great part. Maybe you pick your favorite food, or maybe you pick your favorite animal, or maybe you pick something that you know really well and that you could answer all of these questions to. The other thing about poems is that the great thing about poems, I should say, is that every poem should and can be different because you're writing them yourself. So the words that I came up with that described my popcorn, what I think popcorn looks like and what I think it smells like, is what I think. You could write and use popcorn and come up with different answers. It's about being creative. That's that big fancy word. So what I'm going to have you do is I'm going to have you do a little movement break. So make sure you get your body ready for our movement break. Watch our video about our 5 senses. Sing and dance around a little and come back. And we're going to do a 5 senses poem together. And then you get to make your own. How amazing is that? So go do the movement break and I'll see you in a few.